Jam Master Jay. Born Jason Mizell in Brooklyn in 1965, grew up with a strong musical talent. He played several instruments as a kid before discovering DJing in Queens at 13. By 17, he teamed up with Run and DMC, forming Run DMC and helping push hip-hop into the mainstream. They rapped, but they also stood for something. They had clean images, stayed away from trouble, and openly rejected the drug culture that ran through much of the industry.
Their music, they say, encourages good behavior.
They offer dope and lots of coke, but we just leave it alone. You know what I'm saying? That's the type of lyrics we have, you know what I mean? Our lyrics are so positive, you could never blame it on us.
Jay became known for his sharp turntable skills, production work, and later for mentoring young artists, signing groups like Onyx and even a young 50 Cent. By the late 1990s, prosecutors say Jay got involved in trafficking as the group's fame slowed. In 2002, he allegedly secured 10 kilograms of for a Maryland deal involving Ronald Washington and Carl Jordan Jr., but after a dispute, Jay cut Washington out of the deal, a move prosecutors later said sparked a fatal revenge plot. On October 30th, 2002, Jay was in his Queens studio playing video games with friends when Washington and Jordan entered through the fire escape. Witnesses said Jordan walked straight up to Jay, gave him a half handshake, and fired 2 close-range shots to his head, killing him instantly. Another man in the room was shot in the leg as Washington held others at gunpoint. The entire attack lasted about 10 seconds. The crime scene was chaotic. Jay lay on the floor beside the couch in a pool of blood, the TV still playing the game he had been enjoying seconds earlier.
We begin with a fatal shooting of a rap music legend. The shooting tonight in a recording studio in Queens, taking the life of the man known as Jam Master Jay. His real name, Jason Mizell.
For years, though, the investigation went nowhere. Fear of retaliation silenced witnesses, and despite rumors circulating about Washington and Jordan, no one would testify. The case sat cold for more than 20 years. Things finally changed around 2017 when federal investigators revisited the case. They convinced new witnesses to cooperate and re-examined evidence. In 2020, Jordan and Washington were indicted on charges including murder while engaged in drug trafficking. A third man, Jay Bryant, was charged in 2023. The trial for Jordan and Washington began in early 2024. Key eyewitness Tony Rincon, shot in the leg during the attack, broke his decades-long silence, explaining he had been too terrified to speak before. Other witnesses testified that the defendants had bragged about the killing. The defense argued the case lacked physical evidence and was based on shaky witness accounts, but the jury didn't buy it. On February 27, 2024, both men were found guilty on all counts, finally bringing closure to one of hip-hop's longest unsolved murders. T. Hood. Born Tevin Hood in 1992, was a rising Atlanta rapper known for energetic trap tracks like Ready to Go, Big Booty, and Percolator. His final single, Girls to the Party, dropped in May 2025 and was beginning to catch on. He built a loyal fan base without major label backing and often spoke about overcoming homelessness and losing friends to violence. He also loved being a father, but just months after his last release, his life came to a tragic end. His relationship with 30-year-old Kelsey Frost, daughter of Love and Hip Hop Atlanta stars Kirk Frost and Rashida, quickly became the center of his final chapter. The exact start of their romance isn't clear, but by 2025, they were living in the same apartment building and seemed serious. Behind the scenes, though, the relationship was violent. Surveillance videos from earlier that year showed T. Hood grabbing and choking Kelsey, and photos from late 2024 showed her with bruises on her face, neck, and chest. Friends close to the Frost family said it wasn't a one-time situation, but an ongoing pattern of abuse. Even with all this, the couple stayed together. Days before the shooting, Kelsey posted a message that read, "Just come get me, baby, please," which some people later looked back on as a warning sign. T. Hood's family said they were worried and believed Kelsey eventually called her brothers during a fight, setting off a chain of events that led to his death. On August 8, 2025, around 7 p.m., Gwinnett County Police responded to a domestic dispute at T. Hood's apartment in Snellville. Officers found him shot multiple times in the back, abdomen, buttocks, and thighs. He was taken to a hospital but didn't survive.
Shot and killed in Gwinnett County has been identified as an Atlanta rapper. Investigators say the victim was 33-year-old Tevin Hood, also known as T. Hood.
Kelsey also had injuries from the altercation. According to police, at some point during the fight, T. Hood reportedly pulled out a gun. That's when Kelsey's brother, 24-year-old Kyle Rashid Frost, allegedly fired his own weapon. Investigators said the shooting may have happened in self-defense, believing Kai acted to protect himself or his sister.
So that's the very latest. Gwinnett County Police are still investigating, but say self-defense could be behind the shooting death of 33-year-old rapper Tevin Hood, also known as T. Hood. Gwinnett County Police have named the 24-year-old son of reality stars Kirk and Rashida Frost, Kai Frost, as a suspect in the rapper's death.
Kai stayed at the scene, cooperated with police, and was detained for questioning but not charged. Another witness, Ariel Miranda Hutchinson, also stayed and spoke with investigators. Meanwhile, T. Hood's family accused Kelsey of staging the situation and calling her brothers to escalate the confrontation. Kelsey denied everything, posting emotional messages saying people were spreading sick rumors while she was grieving the man she loved. As of late 2025, the case remained open, with police still treating the shooting as a possible self-defense situation and Kai Frost still the main suspect. Martell Derouen. He was a rising rapper from San Antonio, known professionally as Cardone. He grew up between Texas and Louisiana and released his album Trunk Bag in 2016, later gaining traction with his 2020 single Magic. Though he was a cousin of Beyoncé, he rarely mentioned it and focused instead on building his career through steady work and community connections. Derouen met 21-year-old Sasha Scar while she was wanted for an aggravated robbery in Austin, something he likely didn't know. Scar said he reached out on Instagram to have her appear in a music video, and from there, their work relationship turned romantic. She told the court they spent months together, with him regularly picking her up in Austin and bringing her to his San Antonio apartment. While their relationship looked committed from the outside, Scar's legal battles and past instability remained in the background. Everything changed on January 22, 2021, when Derouen invited Scar to his apartment at the Towers. She said they cooked dinner, watched TV, and were drinking and smoking together. When she answered a FaceTime call from a photographer, she claimed Derouen suddenly became jealous and violent, hitting and choking her. Scar said she panicked, ran to the bedroom, and grabbed his gun from the nightstand. According to her, she tried to leave through the front door, knocked on it in fear, and the gun just went off, striking Derouen in the head. He collapsed and died from the injury. His body wasn't discovered until 4 days later, when a woman claiming to be his wife called 911 but couldn't give the correct address or apartment number.
My name is Joya Duran. I'm trying to get in my apartment, but I'm not able to get in, and I think my husband is injured.
Police forced entry and found him dead. Investigators quickly realized the 911 caller wasn't who she claimed to be. By comparing her voice to videos and social media clips, they identified the caller as Sasha Scar. Scar was arrested and charged with murder. During her 2023 trial, she testified through tears, insisting the shooting was accidental and that she acted in self-defense. Prosecutors argue the opposite, saying she was obsessed with Derouen and that the evidence didn't support her story. Text messages suggested Derouen had been trying to end the relationship and wanted his gun back, which raised questions about her motives. After a 4-day trial, the jury found her guilty, and she was sentenced to 55 years in prison. Her decision to reject a plea deal backfired badly. Andy Cartwright. Andy Cartwright was the stage name of Alexander Yushko, a 30-year-old underground rapper living in St. Petersburg. He was known for sharp wordplay and rap battle performances, building a small but loyal following online while staying mostly private about his personal life. By mid-2020, his marriage to 37-year-old Marina Kokol had become strained. Marina had a background in philology and once worked in law enforcement communications, but in later years she grew deeply interested in esoteric topics and true crime. She posted videos about aggression and betrayal, and her behavior became increasingly intense. The biggest issue in the marriage was Cartwright's secret affair with a 26-year-old fan, Nadia Romanenko. She later told investigators that she rented an apartment near the couple's home just so she could see him every day. Marina eventually discovered the relationship and reacted with anger, even lying to Nadia that Cartwright had AIDS. On July 29, 2020, things exploded inside the couple's apartment. Investigators said Marina confronted Cartwright about the affair, and the confrontation turned deadly. Although Marina insisted he died of a drug overdose, police never found drugs in his system. Instead, they believed she planned the killing, noting that she had recently bought a medicine used in the crime. Forensic tests also showed no traces of narcotics, undermining her entire story. What happened after his death shocked even experienced investigators. Marina, allegedly held by her mother Elena, dismembered Cartwright's body using knives and a hacksaw. They placed body parts in bags, the fridge, and even a washing machine. Some pieces were never found, including major organs. Police said the woman fed parts of his fingers to rats. Experts were disturbed by how clean the remains were. There was almost no blood left. Later, forensic findings suggested something even worse. Cartwright may have still been alive when the dismemberment began. Tests on his eyes indicated he died from lack of oxygen and that the cutting happened shortly before death. When Marina finally called police, officers arrived to a scene that stunned the Russian music world. She was arrested and charged with murder, while her mother was also detained. Marina continued insisting she only disposed of the body. After a long investigation, she was convicted and in November 2025 received a sentence of 12.5 years. She fainted in court when the verdict was read. The case left many people shocked and disturbed for years. Rahim Grant. He was born on March 30, 1989 in Fayetteville, Georgia, and showed talent early. He learned drums as a toddler, performed on Showtime at the Apollo at age 7, and eventually became a known rapper, engineer, and producer in Atlanta under the name Red Breezy. By his mid-20s, he was respected in the city's music scene and building real momentum when everything fell apart. Rahim met Sierra Harp in 2013 after she approached him for an autograph and a job. They began dating quickly, and in 2014, they had a daughter, Angel. But Harp's background was filled with violence and instability. Family members later described her childhood as abusive, and people who knew her said she had a long history of jealousy, fights, and aggressive behavior. Even after Rahim and Harp ended their relationship, he stayed connected because of their daughter, but things kept getting worse. Rahim's mother said Harp had been beating him for years and had become dangerously obsessed with him. Worried for her son's safety, she urged him to start recording their interactions as protection. Those recordings became crucial on the night of December 29, 2017. Rahim and Harp got into a confrontation at his Clayton County apartment. Harp later told police that Rahim attacked her with a knife, but the video on his phone showed something completely different. As the argument turned violent, Rahim began recording, capturing the final 13 minutes of his life. In the footage, Harp shoots him 7 times while their young daughter is nearby. Rahim can be heard begging for water, pleading to hug his daughter one last time, and warning Harp she will spend many years in prison. She responds coldly, "I don't care if I go to jail for the rest of my life."
Grant told her she was going to jail for life.
I do not care if I go to jail for the rest of my life.
Grant's warning came true.
Rahim died from his injuries, and police later recovered the video after struggling to access his phone for weeks. The recording destroyed Harp's self-defense claim and made the case unmistakably clear. She was arrested and charged with malice murder and aggravated assault. During her 2019 trial, the video was played in court, leaving no doubt about what happened. The jury found Harp guilty on May 22nd. At sentencing, even her own mother spoke against her, calling her a source of chaos and urging the judge to impose the harshest punishment. Harp was sentenced to 125 years in prison. Rahim was only 28 years old. Archie Eversole. He was born on July 26, 1984 in Germany to military parents before the family settled in College Park, Atlanta. He grew up in the city's hip-hop scene and recorded his only album, Ride With Me Dirty South Style, at just 17. His biggest hit, We Ready, became a sports anthem across the country, especially in Atlanta, and helped cement his place in local culture. Though he never reached major mainstream fame, he stayed active in Atlanta's music community until 2022.
And they took our song, which was called We Ready, and made it their anthem, and I appreciate it, and I'm here to support them just like they support us.
Archie's life took a tragic turn on March 25, 2022. That night, he was shot inside his townhouse on Gulf Vista Circle in DeKalb County. According to police, he had been asleep when someone forced their way into his bedroom, breaking the lock and damaging the door frame. He was shot in the jaw with a .357 pistol, but somehow managed to escape the house and walk to a nearby Chevron gas station on Snapfinger Woods Drive. Bleeding heavily, he asked for help, and employees called 911. He was taken to Grady Memorial Hospital, where doctors tried to save him, but after 9 days of fighting blood loss and complications, he died on April 3, 2022, at just 37 years old. Police quickly arrested his brother, Alexander Kraus, who was still at the townhouse when officers arrived. They noticed blood on his socks, which became part of the case against him. At first, he was charged with aggravated assault, but after Archie passed away, the charge was upgraded to murder. Authorities also pointed to a history of violence between the brothers, noting an earlier case where Archie had been accused of assaulting Kraus. Still, Archie's manager insisted the brothers had patched things up and claimed the shooting was an accident. He said witnesses saw them reconcile and that there was no ongoing feud. Investigators moved forward, and in April 2023, a grand jury indicted Kraus for malice murder, felony murder, aggravated assault, and firearm possession during a felony.
Police say Archie Eversole's brother shot him last month. Eversole died days later. Alexander Kraus is now charged with malice murder.
His attorney argued that Archie never named his brother as the shooter, either right after the attack or later at the hospital. A detective even confirmed Archie never identified anyone, but prosecutors emphasized that Kraus was alone at the home, the signs of a violent struggle, and the physical evidence tying him to the scene. A judge denied him bond, calling him a flight risk, and he has remained in DeKalb County Jail awaiting trial, while Archie's family continues to insist he is innocent. YPWYG. He was a 37-year-old rapper from Jamaica, Queens, whose music carried the raw sound of his neighborhood. He wasn't a mainstream star yet, but he was getting closer. His early projects, Streets Talk and Rise Above, earned him respect locally and started pushing his name outside Queens. He kept a solid presence online too, posting photos with big artists like 50 Cent and Nicki Minaj and showing love to friends he lost along the way. His career wasn't huge yet, but he had real momentum and a growing reputation as someone who was on his way up. But everything came to a tragic end on October 3, 2025, inside the family home where he lived on 116th Road in Jamaica, Queens. The house had recently been put up for sale for around $600,000, and it became the center of a serious family dispute. That evening, YPWYG got into a heated argument with his 41-year-old nephew. According to relatives, the fight was about the future of the house and who had a say in what happened to it. What started as a tense discussion quickly turned into something far more dangerous. At some point during the argument, the nephew pulled out a gun and shot YPWYG in the head. The wound was fatal. For hours afterward, the nephew remained inside the home with YP's body still lying there. Family members later said they didn't know exactly how long he stayed, only that he didn't leave and didn't call anyone. Later that night, overwhelmed by what he had done, the nephew walked upstairs to a hallway on the upper floor. There, he turned the gun on himself and fired a single shot, ending his own life. Emergency responders rushed him to Jamaica Hospital, but he was pronounced dead shortly after arriving. Around 11:45 p.m., the tragedy was discovered by another uncle who lived in the basement and had no idea anything had happened upstairs. When police arrived, they found the bodies and recovered the gun used in both deaths. Investigators quickly determined there was no other suspects involved. The medical examiner later confirmed that both men died from gunshot wounds to the head, officially classifying the case as a murder-suicide. One of the rare and deeply tragic endings connected to someone in the hip-hop world.